Today, repopulation begins. Or maybe, I don't know. I've been having this weird feeling. I've talked about this before multiple times, and especially last week, how the idea that there's always like a lesson or a consequence or a something that comes along with having sex within the series, and I'm curious as to what it'll be here, because I have it stuck in my head that that's not going to be solved until we make our rounds to Roxy, so like where there won't be any issues afterwards. So what exactly it is, so my statement there is, weirdly enough, I just feel like Sylphie's gonna get pregnant here. I feel that's fitting in a way. Force something else, responsibility in a way, onto this person. Like, I just feel like that's fitting. I feel like that has to happen, right? I don't know. I hope so. What's gonna happen here? We're gonna do the deed. I think they're gonna show that. Yeah, they'll probably show that. What's gonna happen after that? I don't know. Where we end the core, it'd probably be on a good note. I don't think they're gonna leave us wondering or questioning too much. Thank you to the one of you last week who doesn't know how spoiler comments work and left, you know, a spoiler of something that's probably gonna end up happening here. Really, really appreciate that. You know, thanks a lot. I definitely asked you guys to leave those. That means a lot to me. In case you struggle to read sarcasm, that is not something I want you to do at all, and please avoid reading them at all. Even if you have to read leave a read more option down below, I'd much rather you just not leave the comment at all. There's no point in it, in my opinion. I'll be excited though, just to see how they're gonna conclude things here. After the discussion of the reaction of this episode, I'm going to be just giving overall thoughts and opinions on the first core of this season. I'll give it a rating and a bunch of other things that I always regret or not wanting to do. We'll just end up being there. Feel free, please, though, leave any comments how you felt about this entire core. Did you love it? Did you hate it? Are you looking forward to what's next? Do you think this is the best thing that's happened in this series? Do you think this is the worst thing that's happened in this series? I don't know. I just questions. If you guys have anything you want to leave below, thoughts, opinions, just leave it all. If you like it all, hit the like and subscribe. Do mean a lot to me. Feel free to stick around for the discussion as well as the portion that'll come after that. Let's get going to episode 12. So we drip wet. Actually, they're probably not very wet right now. Well, I mean. Because it wasn't even an option in your mind that she would be here.
昔の彼女は俺にべったりで泣き虫だったけど、フィッツ先輩はしっかりしてて、面倒見も良くて、またいなくなっちゃう。あんな後悔、もうしたくない。
Be honest with yourself.
俺も好きです。
Aw. Aw. Cool. Are you gonna notice the thing around his neck yet? I really want you to notice that. You haven't mentioned it. I feel like that's a big thing still. There we go. It's not mine. No. Just wants to make sure. I thought she was gonna start asking questions. Alright, we're good. What's wrong, bro? Is it not working? Oh. We can work through this together. That's definitely different than I thought was going to be the case. I thought it was just going to be straightforward here. Okay, now we bring attention. And now we can spend all this time catching up with each other. Perfect. The things that we lost for like a year.
全部ルディに追いつきたくて褒めてもらいたくて候補の名簿にルディの名前を見つけた時本当に嬉しかった生きててくれてありがとうシルフィーも無事でよかった
And now we get to go on a little date through the forest.
はじめましてって言われて
ごめんでもシルフィーだってもっと早い
Yeah, she wishes she did too, but
1年も気づけなくて申し訳なかった
も
couldn't help
反応
myself.
はするが、どう
Yeah.
もコントロールできない。しかし、やはり安心するな。順調に回復していると言えよう。彼女のおかげだ。
Slowly working towards it. Alright.
はい。こちらこそよろしくお願いします。
Now we awkwardly we part ways.
ルディの病気に効く薬あればいいのに。
Do you know somebody though? Maybe it wasn't as simple as creating a connection. Maybe you create the connection and then that connection knows somebody who does it.
危険があるからといって相手の衣類を無理。
Oh no, I mean.
誰がしましょうか。
シルフィー、とりあえず落ち着いて報告をしろ。
You can't tell them that though. Hold on, let's see if she omits that detail. Okay, so she tells them. That's all, It's not like he's choosing to.
それは言い過ぎです。男にはどうしようもない時があるのです。
I appreciate you.
好きでシルフィーを抱かなかったわけじゃないはず。
Yes, thank you.
俺はむしろ奴が今までおとなしくしていた理由に納得がいきました。
ルーク？
あの自信のなさそうな顔や態度も今ならわかります。かわいそうによるべもなく藁を持つ。
He had no other options. I can't help but feel for him. I love it. I love it.
なくても仕方ありませ
It's
ん。
only natural most people wouldn't understand, you
お
know?
前はルーデウスの病気を治してやりたいと思うか？
Yes. Are you gonna help us because you just feel bad for our fellow brother?
ルディすごくショックを受けてたんだ。私にも不能の治し方にいくつか心得があります。本当ですか？
You people are the ones we need.
お酒を飲ませます。
お待たせしました。
That's Ariel. That's not.
暑いと言って肩のあたりをちらりとはだけるのです。それでいけ
What are
るん
you
ですか？
teaching her?
大丈夫でしょう。シルフィーは可愛いですから。
そもそも
You got a
シ
book
ルフィー
for
の
us?
体で色仕掛けは無理です。
何ですかルーク？
Come on,
その言い
man.
方は。
アリエル様、グレーラットの血族は
うん
代々女性の大きな胸に惹かれる傾向があります。現に俺はシルフィーにかほどの魅力も感じません。
Everyone's got, you know, everyone had preference.
これは何？
強力な催飲作用と競争作用を持つ美薬だ。
美薬？
昔フィットア寮で作ら
Is
れ
this like a one-time use thing though, or is it like a?
製造方法も工場も消滅したため。
Oh, this is what he bought this, right? Or Eris bought this for him, right? Like this exact thing, right?
にでもしようと思っていたが、シルフィー、お前に
こんな高価なものを。
ついていけないと思ったら、自分も飲むぐらいのつもりでいけ。
What the
お前が
fuck?
思い描いていたような甘い初体験は迎えられなくなるだろうから、何度も命を助けてもらっているからな。
Exact thing that Ariel would be saying, or
二
has
人
said.
は仲がいいですね。では、私からも。
Oh, I'm glad she's built such a good supporting cast around her who cares so much in her times in need, or her times of desire. We go on the offensive. Here we go.
僕のお父さん、お母さん、シルフィエットは今日こそ大人になります。
Welcome to adulthood.
はい。
Oh,
シュ
it's
先輩、どうぞ入ってください。
gotta be careful. You don't know who out here lurking, you know? Choose your words wisely. I hope we get like a moment of Alina Elise being on the outside of the door and hearing it happen. Like a mirrored situation of what was happening all the time with him. Oh.
再会のお祝いをしておこうかと思って。
ああ、そうか。
She's putting every plan into play here. Wow.
はい。大丈夫。コップくらいありますよ。
Bro can just make his own.
それじゃあ、僕がルディに出会ったきっかけもお湯だったね。
It was.
そうだっけか？
ほら、僕が道で泥玉をかけられて、
Sprayed
ルデ
me.
ィがそれをお湯で流してくれてさ。
ああ、懐かしいな。これを？
ルディのあれに効くっていう薬なんだ。薬って言っちゃったけど、魅力だって薬だよね。
Yeah.
間違ってはいないはず。
You're not.
こうで
You've gotten this before.
飲んでみてほしいんだ。
No
結
second
構即効性が
thoughts.
あるらしいよ。
Alright, move quick.
一緒に飲んで大丈
It might not be. Actually, I don't even think about that.
もう大丈夫。多分
You'd
聞い
hope.
てきたら我慢しなくてもいいからね。
Damn, it kicked in quick. Bro's already feeling it. Holy shit. Don't the things that usually take like an hour to kick in? It's time.
シルフィー
Like, it was just silence between them for that long.
じゃあどうぞお召し上がりください。
Are all the girls in the show gonna have a thing that they say before that, like, gets them? Because this is 2 now. Oh, we gotta skip through it. No, like, cinematic way of approaching it. I don't care either way. I'm just wondering. Yeah. Is he gonna remember is the question as well? Or is she gonna remember? Or are they too fucked up by it? And all the alcohol. Oh, she gone. Bright and early, got duties to do. She'll leave a notice. Hmm.
護衛の仕事だよな。
The trauma. She's not gone, bro. She's not gone. It's not like before.
起きてたんだ。おはよう、ルディ。
The relief that's probably going through him right now.
と二人に会ってほしい。
He's just thankful you're still here now. Was he good to go now? We just had to get over the moment. I thank you very much.
ルーデウス・グレイラットと申します。
I owe you so
この学校
much.
に雷鳴を轟かせるルーデウス殿が、
シルフィーに病を治してもらいました。殿下はそのシルフィーに協力してくださったと聞き及んでおります。
So I am in debt to you.
お力
Yes.
になれることがございましたら、私にお声掛けくだ。
That's how the world works. Do a favor for one, I do it for you.
お前はアスラ貴族の政権争いは忌避していると思っていたが。
確かに政権争いになんて首を突っ込みたくはありません。
I meant more in a friendship way.
けれど、思い人が渦中にいるとなれば話は別です。
But I guess that works too, yeah.
借りられるのであれば非常に心強い。
I guess that makes sense. What other reason would she kind
あ
of
な
need
た
him
は
for,
どうする
right?
つもりですか？
私には転移事件で失った家族を探すという使命がある。
どうするつもりなのですか？
I will venture out.
はい。
まさか不能の治療が終わった
You're just gonna up and leave all of
この
us.
国から旅立つ。シルフィーとははいさようならというわけで。
Did you even think about that? You were so scared that they were gonna up and leave you. Did you even think about what you're gonna do?
シルフィーと
Okay.
結婚します。
シルフィエット・グレイラット？グレイラットって
Hold on. She's like, I'm gonna agree, Danny.
ルディ、
はい。
その
Mm.
よろしくお願いします。
こちらこそ。
シルフィー、ルーデウスの妻となるならば今後断層をする必要はありません。女らしくなさい。もちろん私の名前を使うことも許します。
わかりました。
Glasses go. I like the glasses though. I was a fan.
アリエル様、ルーク、今までありがとう。
close our chapter of the university arc, or what I believe would likely be the end of the university arc. We move forward into whatever will end up being Cour 2. I think that's a wonderful way for them to close it out. Didn't go necessarily the direction I expected, which was for the better. I think it's a lot better to do it the way that they did, rather than straightforward. It allowed for a lot of callbacks. It allowed for a lot of use of other people and set up further political things and things regarding these characters moving forward, which I think is an excellent way of kind of approaching the situation that they did here. I think a lot of the beats were really nailed here, specifically the idea of something, and I never even thought about this. I thought the idea of Rudy and his whole ED incident occurs because of this fear that he did have with women that we talked about before. But I thought it was more of, I don't want to get close to one because then they're going to up and leave me. And then it just like ultimately left like that, right? He didn't want to repeat that same situation. But that's the thing. He didn't want to repeat the exact same situation. And I never really thought about it to this extent, that his body not allowing him to get up was more of like a thing of being like, we're not going to allow you to partake in something like this, because if you wake up this next morning, you know, and something like that happens again, you're going to be in a state of like, you literally can't recover from it, like mentally anymore, having this trauma that's going to come due to this, because he already is traumatized by the situation that happened before. So now being able to have this moment again where he thinks Sylphie's gone completely, and then seeing her come back completely shatters that for him. And that's why he immediately is like, oh, I'm cured, because he realizes that then in that moment, that's all he needed was to get that in his head, which was not something that he was going to be able to until he got put in that exact situation afterwards of it actually happening, that not everybody is going to up and leave you for whatever reasons that Eris chose to at that moment, right? And you can partake in these types of things without having to have that fear. And as a result of you building such a strong chemistry and actual connection to this person that you have lots of care for, it ensures you that you have somebody else that's going to constantly be with you at this moment. Well, I guess that's a little weird of a way to say it, because Eris did, you know, care for him lots too, and they had that sort of connection. But there's differences between where she's at as a person and where she was at with her life and the things that she needed to do and wanted to go out and do versus where Sylphie's at, right? There's a big disconnect there of like the difference that each of them have. So yeah, there's that. The marriage thing would have been great, you know, just to see it if you didn't spoil it last week. Once again, to that comment, not cool. Anyways, they bring that up. That's a really cool way to transition us further into the idea of what's going to come next. Now, it doesn't answer the question, I guess, that I get left with of, is this marriage more of a, I'm not up and leaving you, this is something that I truly intend to come back, and like trying to mean it in that sort of way, that we always have this connection because I will come back and find you, but I have a duty and a thing that I have to do? Or is it more of a, I'm going to marry you and now we're going to leave together and we're going to go work on this thing because now we are a partners and going to accomplish this goal that I kind of have? Like, which direction does it kind of go? I think it makes the most sense to separate the two at this moment, but I could be wrong. It can work either way. It's not like it's a bad choice either way, but I think that it's a way to ensure this person that you love them and that you actually will be back for them, and that you're not using them as a way to just cure the things that you were, you know, coming here and setting out for, but also letting them know that you have other things that are important that you have to leave and you have to go ahead and do, that are going to ultimately be like at the top of your priority list right now. So you're going to have to take a back seat just for the time being while they kind of focus up and do these things, which is all good and well. But now what exactly the thing is with Sylphie, because I don't think Ariel's just gonna be like, yeah, you can up and leave, but maybe she will. I mean, she's okay with her revealing identity and stuff now, so there's a possibility that she's okay with that. There's a possibility that she's not. She's like, you have to stay by me, and who knows? Like, I don't know the exact direction that we take there. I think, like I said, if I guessed, we would keep Sylphie back and not put Sylphie and Rudy together, because it would allow for things to be a bit more interesting, setting Rudy out on a journey on his own and just seeing how he acts. And then also you get to put him in a position where if he is alone, say we get back with Soldat or something, we go out and do whatever and venture out there, and maybe we don't, maybe we just get with like a Lena Lise and Cliff and we do whatever, right? And now that he is cured and all this other stuff, we get to test like loyalty and really like put like a test to who he is as a person and the things that he does when he actually starts venturing out into this world, maybe not having to have somebody like Sylphie around him, which I think is pretty cool if they want to go down a route like that. Also just because it frees us up so much more without having to restrict us to have like a sidekick or somebody else that's with us in Sylphie, and it frees him up a bit more to take on other people to kind of join up with him, and creates different dynamics, I guess, in relationships and stuff that he may have with other characters that we meet, that probably wouldn't happen if she was with us. And now I'm saying all this just for the fact that when we go forward, probably she'll be with us, and I'm gonna look back and be like, oh, I wasted my time on this, but it's whatever. I love the moment here right at the beginning, and he realizes that it's not gonna work. Actually so sad, and I feel bad for the guy at the moment. You know, he got something, just had this big emotional moment with him and a reconnection with somebody else, and it falls apart. But it created a great opportunity for us to kind of get closer together and bond here, and kind of talk about a whole bunch of things, where exactly we came from, this long journey that we've all been on, how exactly our lives have been, share literally everything that we can, and it allows them to really catch up after all these years, which is such a perfect thing. They've created a new relationship within the prior relationship that they've already had, or I guess outside of the prior relationship that they've already had, and now can kind of combine everything together as two people who basically fell in love with each other while not knowing who the other person was, in a way. Like, it's pretty fucking cool of a way to do that. And I love finally bringing attention to the thing around his neck and stuff like that. I think that's great. We get really cute moments with them just kind of walking around and just being together, right? Which is great. I love him, you know, biting on her ear. It's so like such a caught off guard moment, but it's so great. And then her enlisting the help of the others. They already helped her get so far. Might as well, you know, continue. I love Luke in this moment, just being like, you guys wouldn't get it. Of course you think that way. This poor kid, you know, all the things that he's going through, and he just like, he connects it, he relates it, he feels for a fellow brother, you know. It's so sad. And I love him, though. I love that he goes out of his way and he kind of does that. Ariel teaching every strategy in the books that she can. Some of them aren't great, but we do put most of them to use because, of course, Sylphie doesn't know any better. And then he ends up finding us with this drug, right? The exact same one, I believe. You can correct me if I'm wrong. I believe the exact same one he was interested in because he wanted to use it on Eris, but then he didn't end up buying it, but she saw that he was looking at it, so she bought it for him, not knowing exactly what it is, right? And then I don't think we ever used it. I think like it broke or something and we weren't able to, if I'm correct. But yeah, so the exact same thing basically, which is pretty fucking funny, and a perfect way to do this, right? It's something that it doesn't clear his mental state or anything, but it allows him to kind of perform. It's like, I mean, plenty of other drugs and things that we have in our world now, right, in present day, that allow people to get up and do their thing and last longer, do whatever they need, right? I also love Ariel like giving us money and stuff to buy whatever else that we need, and just helping us out, like just seeing the group of people that she's surrounded herself with actually care so greatly about her is such a great thing, considering the fact that Ariel used her from the moment that she met her as like this thing, and she kind of lied to her in a way, or she used her as like a blackmailed her in a way, basically. It's really cool just to see how much they've come around to the point that like maybe they started that way, but like look at how far they've kind of come now, which is pretty dope. I love this, just the awkward like just sitting next to each other but not being able to like really close the distance and not know exactly what to do. They start drinking, which is, you know, of course part of the strategy, so they get going on that, and then we have a nice little conversation again, introduce this to him, and he's like, wait, I think I've seen this before, but can't put his fingers on exactly what it is. It instantly just works as they both end up taking it, but it instantly gets them both like looking and thinking in the moment, which is great. And then the deed begins to be done, which is fantastic. Interesting just decision to not showcase it in any sort of way. I feel like almost every time that we've shown sex in some sort of way in this show, they've had a like symbolic way of kind of showing it, and if they didn't, they had like interesting ways in which they would frame the scene and like the direction choices on it were pretty interesting just to realize and note. So the fact that we didn't really have one here, besides just like flashing to the next day, is just something worth noticing, I guess, but not that important. And I love this, and just him realizing that she was gone, and completely breaking in this moment, and realizing like, fuck, it's happened again. And at this point, it's like a breaking point for him again, even farther than he was at before, and how depressed he was, because now he's at this point where the immediate first thoughts in his mind is like, once again this is happening, right? And then also like, fuck, every single time I try and allow something like this to happen, it's not going to work. They're always going to end up leaving me. And then this trauma just kind of resurfaces for him, and it makes it even harder on the kid, which is fantastic the moment that she shows up. And of course, that's why his instant reaction is to get up and just hug her and hold on to her, because he doesn't want to end up losing this person that he was able to get with. And then he figures out that he's cured, which is great. But he completely breaks down crying. We connect. Pretty cool. Everybody has like a alliance with each other now in some sort of way. We both have uses for each other and are both in debt to somebody else for like certain reasons, or it's just a cool way of allowing all these characters to have like a purpose or a connection in some sort of way that is actually more important than just like knowing each other and or by family name or something. And they're actually going to stand for this person and do work for them or help them in any sort of ways that they kind of can, which I actually like a lot. Rudy intends at this point to marry Sophie, which is fantastic. And I've talked about that a little bit at the beginning, but where I think that might end up heading, and how exactly I think that they are going to plan and approach this. Cute little end card here, which I like a lot too. Heading into new Cour, where exactly we are going to head and go, I have no guesses. I guess I would guess the next Cour is Zenith Cour, like finding her. I would assume that's the entirety of the next Cour. I could be entirely wrong. They might not go there, but I would think that would be the case. And I would expect a lot more world stuff to really be put into action here. A lot of things that were like set up or introduced or slightly mentioned, things that like I probably won't even remember come time for that, right? I think a lot of that stuff was presented probably here and will be shown off starting then or in later points in the series. And I'm just really interested. I assume it's going to be an entirely different change of pace going forward. If I made a guess, I would assume I'd assume we meet Roxy next season. I don't know if I'd say Eris would be involved. She might be, but the whole thought process in my head, and I've had this for a while now, is we've cycled through all of them basically. Roxy, Sylphie, Eris, and then we went back to Sylphie, and now it's like almost like we should get back to Roxy again, because we haven't really gotten to her. And also because we reached, it's like the amount of time you spent with somebody. The most time with Eris, that ended, and then we go back to the next person, which was Sylphie, and then the person with like the least amount of time, or at least that we've got to see them on screen, so we go back to Roxy after that. So I'd assume Roxy would end up being next, the one that we reconnect with. I'd assume we'd also get to do our thing and do the deed with Roxy at some point, which will be there, and he'll complete his trifecta, and the harem will be in full force there. And then I believe after that moment, we'll reconnect with Eris. But I just, for whatever reason in my mind, it makes sense to not involve Eris again until maybe a season after that, like have a certain portion of the story where she's not involved. But I guess they could also go a route where if we are venturing into something that is very fucking out there, I guess, with somebody like trying to find Zenith and whatever her situation is, right? We could possibly use somebody like Eris, and that would be great to not protect us, but help us along the way with whoever we encounter. So I would be interested to see a reunion between them. But I just feel like the Roxy thing would make a little bit more sense to kind of go that direction. And that's the only thing I can really think of like where we'll head is worrying about her. And then also because also we bring it up at the end here. And then we have to, I'm assuming if we separate, this is also only if we separate from Sylphie. I think if we bring Sylphie, we don't necessarily have a need or a reason to forcibly bring one of the other two characters in here. But if we separate ourselves, I think that we can easily bring the other one or one of the others in. And I'd be very interested to see there. Or maybe we just enlist the help of Paul or somebody, and then that's where we end up finding Roxy, and then we have like a whole squad of people who work, which I think could be rather cool, and I'd be interested to, I guess, see there. Those are just some thoughts about where we're gonna possibly head, but I don't actually know. Regarding this core entirely, some quick just thoughts. This is, once again, as I like to state all the time, this is not like a analysis, like in-depth review or anything. It's just some thoughts, opinions, and feelings towards things I liked, I didn't, you know. Starting off, basically, this is a interesting direction for the story to take. Often I've seen with other series, you get a season 1 that people love, and then you introduce a season 2 that tries to take a complete different approach or do something differently, and people tend to dislike it because of almost feeling like they were robbed of the things that they love so much in season 1, which is interesting. I guess just why people feel that kind of way. Vinland Saga is a big one, the big change that basically happens going into season 2. ReZero is another one where the second season, the pacing of it entirely changes from where they were at in the first one. And these are just things that people like had a big complaints about, which I thought were weird because both seasons are better than the first. Anyways, this is a very important season to narratively move us and our main character and Rudy into a positive direction, to get him past a whole bunch of things, allow him to face certain things, and really just take a stop. He's been going since he was fucking young, right? Constantly for years, just wandering around everywhere. This is a good time for him to stop, stay in one place for a long period of time, really have to think, form connections with other people, do things without like venturing out and killing things, and finding a purpose, finding himself along the way. That's literally the setup that we get throughout this entire thing, while also, you know, building up towards other things. And I think that that's a necessary step to take. Every story needs one of those. It's your typical shonen having a moment where you take a step back and they go on a training arc, right? And they have to get stronger. They have to do things to kind of improve themselves. Well, maybe he didn't get stronger as a physical fighter or anything along those lines. Mentally, he becomes stronger and more cleared up, and he becomes more confident in himself and his ability to go on and face other people going forward, and his things that he wants to set out and actually do, saving his mom or finding his mom and reconnecting his family and all of this stuff, right? Like, everything gets kind of put into perspective a lot more because he's a lot more cleared up mentally now, and he is not really hung up on a whole bunch of these other things. He's able to overcome a lot. So this entire section is exactly needed for that. It's a difficult thing to put into anime, like an animation form, instead of just like a novel, and actually allow like readers to continue on, or watchers to like continue on and love it. I would argue most people who make it to second seasons like the season a decent amount that they'll continue it. But I'd argue that this will be the lowest point that the series probably ever hits for most people. It depends. I mean, everybody is different, of course, but I would argue this is like the lowest point that most people feel within the series, just because not as much is going on and it's a lot more slower paced. With that said, we start off the season with a mini 4-episode arc in one area while Rudy basically wants to kill himself and does not want to be on this earth anymore and doesn't really see a reason to be, and he's extremely broken and depressed throughout this time. And then we venture into the university arc where that stuff kind of slowly starts to change and he gets a little bit better over time, ultimately leading us to the climax of the arc, which ends us here. The first portion in that arc I personally did not like very much. Now overall, I don't think it was bad, that arc. I think episode 1 was a great introduction to where we were kind of going. I absolutely despise and hate episode 2. Almost everything that it tries to do and stands for is it lacks conveyance completely. And as to the people who have said before that I you know, just didn't understand it or need to watch it again and stuff like that, I've seen it like 4 times now, and it does nothing for me, and I think it misses the mark completely. So I think that episode is a complete mess. And no, it's not an intentional mess. It's a complete mess. I think it picks back up in the last 2 arcs of it, but it doesn't, I guess, do enough. Like, it needs more that it just doesn't do, which makes the arc fall pretty average to basically falling flat, which is rather unfortunate, mixed in with the fact that episode 0 was so like the quality of it at least was pretty poor, and it wasn't like that interesting within the contents of it. To me, at least, it was a very rough start to the season, in my opinion, which had me in fear a little bit towards what was going to come next, especially because the production of it definitely felt like it was a downgrade. And while that continues throughout the entirety of this, and it's not to the level that season 1 felt like it was at all, it thankfully picks up a ton come towards the university arc, where everything looks a lot better. The story gains a lot more interest, at least for me, and it gets a lot better, like a lot better. I think when we move into this university arc, things are more interesting to me, despite the slower pace, despite what they're doing, I guess, in it, and having some episodes where things just feel kind of funny and they don't really feel like they have too much that they're setting up or doing. It just worked out really well. I found myself coming out of every episode really enjoying what exactly I saw, and looking forward to what was coming the next every time that a new episode was coming out. So it really didn't miss the mark there. This is a season, and specifically that arc, I think. But this season and this core as a whole is going to be something that I think I will look back on at some point in the future and appreciate it a lot more for what it is doing. Because I think it is setting up a ton of things to come in the future within the story. It's just things that you don't either understand or can't appreciate that they were there until you get to that point later on. So the appreciation of this, I think, for a majority of people will be a little bit more down than maybe it should be. Because as I'm saying, while I enjoyed it, I got a lot of enjoyment, I got a lot of laughs, I got a lot of just good moments out of this. The actual like story world building and stuff that they were trying to do here wasn't like all there for me, which is okay though, because like I said, I think it was more so setting certain things up, like barely mentioning them, or just having a character involved that's going to be important for other things later, and just like certain things being set up along the lines like that you can't actually understand until you can see it later actually come to life, and then you can look back on this and be like, oh, that was all there, and then you realize how important this part of the story actually was, which I think will be a pretty cool moment. But till we get there, and if that doesn't happen, then I guess everything I said just doesn't matter. But I believe that it probably would, because usually these arcs, when you can kind of take things slow, allow the character to see things a little bit more clearly, and not have to, like, say, miss as much, or there's definitely more stuff that goes on in these, because when you're taking a slower pace, you kind of have to set up certain things in certain ways to keep somebody intrigued a little bit. I feel like I'm just like rambling though. The majority of this arc though is about us getting over our ED, finding out things about the man incident, and then our reconnection with Sylphie and our whole relationship and dynamic kind of with her. Firstly, I guess the Nanahoshi stuff with the man incident and whatever else, right? The teleportation that episode alone was fantastic, and probably felt like it set up a lot more and actually like presented a ton more than the rest of the season entirely did, but that's okay. And it was great to see a character like her. She's somebody I expect us to see going forward at some time, and I have a lot of intrigue with things with her. Not too much more for me to really touch on with her. The whole Sylphie things are fantastic, and I think it was just done really well. I think their dynamic and the way that they presented the relationship between them came off really, really good. Like a lot more interesting, a lot more cute, a lot more just everything than like a lot of like rom-coms or just romance shows tend to do over the entire span of their show. And I felt like I got more fulfillment out of these two characters and seeing them come together than like a lot of other things in a few episodes here, which is weird. I was happy that Xanaba came back. I love him. He's fantastic. Our two Beast Girls were really great and made for some very fun and entertaining moments. I would love to have a reunion with them going back home and the rest of our family. I think introducing Julie was really fun, and I'm really excited to see maybe her grow up more and what's going to happen with her in the future, and if some of the things that I guessed could possibly happen that she'll do come to life, which would be really fun to kind of end up seeing. Luke and Ariel, their introductions were great. I still don't love Luke, but he came around to me a little bit more, especially during this episode. Ariel's fantastic. Outside of that stuff that she did, in episode 0 or in the novel that got cut out, she's great besides that though. In the beginning arc, I guess just a few characters, because I'm just kind of going over them now. So that's great. I really enjoy him. Sarah was cool. I didn't love her, I guess, as much as I felt like people on like media and stuff were I don't know why. She just didn't hit with me, I guess, the same way. She just felt like a less interesting version of like somebody like Eris for a while, which just didn't do anything for me. It was great to see Alina at least back. She made for some great moments. Cliff, I completely forgot about him. I'm interested to see the stuff that we've set up with them going forward as well, how exactly they plan to handle that and approach curing her and her curse and the things that they're going to present later on with that. It was interesting and fun to actually get an OP in a proper OP here, which I think works perfect just for this arc. I think that there probably won't be one for the future, but I don't know what the other arcs entail. But I would guess that this works perfectly just because the aspect that was so excellent about them before was that they were able to showcase the place that we were traveling and do like a lot of world building and stuff through that. And we didn't have that because we were static in one location here for the most part. So it works pretty excellent. So I think it's pretty cool that we were actually able to make one just for this moment. And then the ED and everything, the visuals were great. The OP song I actually really, really love. And I listened to that a lot. I can't really think of too much more I want to say. That's just kind of some general thoughts and stuff. So if I skip the don't remember things, my bad. I'll leave a comment later if there's some things I guess that come to mind. I guess I'm feeling, I would say probably a flat 8 out of 10. I've been going back and forth, I guess, in my head for a little bit on where exactly I guess I stand on this season, and I was leaning towards like higher 7 for a while, but I think the more I think about it and reflect on certain things that I liked and stuff throughout the series or the season, I think 8 is the appropriate spot for me to probably put it now. Things might change at some other point, but that's kind of where we're at now. Thank you to everybody who joined at any of these videos and left any comments, likes, subscribed because of it. Literally anything really does mean a lot, and I definitely appreciate that. Let me know though what you thought about this core. Are you looking forward to anything if you're an anime only, especially just anything? Leave any comments about literally anything, and I'll be happy to kind of read them and maybe interact with you based on that. If you got any shows that you think I should watch starting in the fall, leave any recommendations, or other things even if they aired before and you think that I should try and give them a shot at some other point, or maybe they have something that's coming out sometime in the future, or they have a season 2 and if a show that already had a season 1 and maybe I should check that or something, let me know. I can add it to. I have a whole spreadsheet of things that I kind of keep in there, so if you got anything, I'll put it on there. Once again, thank you very much to everybody who kind of joined throughout this whole journey. I will be back in April for the next core and the finish of season 2. I hope you guys have a good one though. Thank you very much. See ya.